Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to another masterclass with Talent 500 and Answer. Today, we're talking about the future of retail. And I think the really exciting part about the last couple of years is how the pandemic has changed all the rules of all the games as we know it, right? And this is perhaps no more true than in retail, where suddenly overnight stores were shut and the entire relationship between retailer and consumer changed overnight. So a lot of what's happened post is businesses that have taken courageous decisions to become technology companies, completely transitioning themselves. And we're really excited today to be hosting Vijay Karthik, who is the Chief Technology Officer of the Neiman Marcus Group. A quick sort of introduction: Neiman Marcus Group is a very well-known American chain of luxury department stores with more than 40 stores, revenues excess of $5 billion, and with 13,000 odd employees. Vijay today is the Chief Technology Officer and the man responsible for perhaps changing a lot of the direction that the organization has. So Vijay, welcome firstly.
Thank
And
you.
before we get started, maybe tell us a little bit about your background and what you're doing at the Neiman Marcus Group.
Sure, yeah. I joined Neiman Marcus in 2017, summer, May. Um, and since then I've been at Neiman Marcus. I've just rose to the ranks, and now I'm the CTO of Neiman Marcus Group. Before Neiman Marcus Group, I've been primarily on the engineering side, all through whether the CPG, avionics, healthcare, various portfolios. But then I think my sweet spot is retail so far.
All right, fantastic. So, Vijay, let's just get started. The pandemic, like I was saying in the introduction, really changed everything about everything as we knew it. Particularly when you look at luxury retail, after years of playing a crucial role in brand distribution, I think luxury retail probably had a very tough sort of 2 years where there were no more stores, no more people walking in, and perhaps online early adopters, brands that were D2C, were in a position to gain a lot of ground, right? So tell us a little bit more about how you are seeing your world and the retail industry change post-pandemic, and really what are some of the things that you've done over the last 2 years to sort of start making, the big transition or the big change in your business?
Sure, yeah. So I think, first and foremost, Neiman Marcus, was one of the very few retailers who went online before the dot-com days, right? I think our e-commerce is probably close to about 30 years old, right? Since 30 years old, our e-commerce platform has evolved. And then when we hit the pandemic, as you all know, probably in the month of, I think, May, all the stores were closed, shut down, right? Which means that the front of the house is closed, the back of the house is still open for fulfilling orders that come from online, right? Or store pickup orders, right? So all our store associates who actually sell from the store are no longer seeing the clients. They are sitting at their home, but they can't see the clients, right? So what we did was we actually had a plan to deploy uh, uh, 2.0 of a clienteling application that we had envisioned, probably in the month of November, December timeframe of 2019. And then we were able to quickly, like an MVP, bootstrap it, deploy it, and hand it off to all of our associates who are sitting at home right now. You have this app on your hands. You can look at your client book. You can talk to your clients remotely from the app. You can continue your remote selling from the app, provide the luxury experience. It was an instant hit for all the associates and our clients both, right? This included not just deploying the app, but also the whole concept of unlearning and relearning, right? I mean, you have a learned behavior of, I welcome my customer in the store, I talk to my customer every day in person, versus now you are remote at home. How do I use a new tool that's been deployed? So we had to change ambassadors across all the stores who were constantly training our associates. It was an instant hit. And then our product operating model of deploying things on a daily basis, weekly basis, bi-weekly basis, we're able to push changes to our associates very frequently. And then this was one of the flagship apps that we built during pandemic. It was probably the biggest hit that happened to Neiman Marcus. Great app, great tech stack that was built on all on cloud. So that was a big thing. Post-pandemic, I think we are continuing to see the what do you call it, the impact of our associates selling remotely still, right? That behavior still continues where there's a lot of clients who are saying, hey, I was able to shop with you remotely. You have a digital stylist that associated to me remotely. So let's continue doing that. So we have this true omni experience of you could still come into the store, talk to an associate or your stylist, and continue engaging online and selling online and interacting online. Right? That still continues. So our revenue numbers are still going up. Our store volume is still going up. Our online volume is going up. So it is not just the bounce back effect of pandemic that people want to shop. It's even beyond that, where a true omni experience has kicked in, where our clienteling applications are providing those capabilities to our customers.
Now that's amazing, and I would sort of say that this is not your first bet with big tech, right? I was reading about
No.
how you acquired a company called Stylize, a software company that uses machine learning to make outfit recommendations based on what customers have purchased before. And very interesting to read that acquiring or integrating Stylize led to about 60 odd million in incremental revenue. So maybe if you can just kind of talk us through what is that process of integrating new technology into an existing business look like? You mentioned change management. I mean, but for you as a technology leader, what does that sort of process look like?
Yeah, so from a tech point of view, I always say it's very easy for us. From a tech guys, it's very easy because when you have a technology uh, foundation, a platform of just APIs, right? If it's a SaaS platform or a new acquisition or even a legacy platform, you can always bring it into the fold because of the API integration that we have, right? But then the feature capabilities that you bring on to the acquisition, right? Deploying them into your current platform, that you have to go through change management of trying to coach your employees and associates on those new features, and also working with your customers on deploying those features, whether it's through A/B testing. You do A/B testing, deploy it. If it doesn't work, flip over, try a different feature, deploy it. So our platform supports all kinds of capabilities, whether it's A/B testing, non-A/B testing, feature toggles and all the stuff. So when we bring on big tech through Stylize or somebody else, integrating on the tech is pretty easy for us because our platform supports it.
Yeah, and I mean, I can imagine the amount of effort it must take to actually sort of completely change directions as a large company that's so
Yeah.
successful as well. Um, we've read about the announcements that the Neiman Marcus Group has made about investing into tech. I think you've announced more than $500 million
Yeah.
of investment over the next few years into technology to meet the demands of the constantly evolving landscape, right? So, what is the retail business doing, investing so heavily into tech? I mean, you guys just sound now more and more like a tech company. So, where is this headed? Tell us a little bit more about
Yeah.
that.
So I mean, we are a tech company because everything we do is all tech oriented, and all our tech is very advanced tech. So if you look at our strategic investment that we plan for, right, one of the big things is what we call a supply chain transformation, right? Completely overhauling our order management system, warehouse management systems, right? So that's probably a multi-year effort. We started it off just before pandemic began. It's still in the works right now. Then there are a few more I'll talk about. The next one is called Store of the Future, right? It is, how do we design the store to be the next future store? Whether it is bringing in like some kind of a cool technology, whether it's augmented reality or even deploying mobile POS. If you actually walk into Neiman Marcus store, the store still has your classic POS registers. So we are in the middle of trying to reboot them and deploy a lot of mobile POS devices. Third one is all about loyalty. We do have a loyalty platform. We're trying to replace the loyalty into a new loyalty platform, right? Then the other big thing is personalization. So personalization, we do it's threefold. It's like one to many, one to mass, right? Most of the retailers do one to mass. Some do one to many. But where we want to go is one to one, which means that I need to know your closet, your order history, and based on that, I can recommend to you what you should see on the website or the mobile app, versus throwing a catalog on your face, right? It's almost like most of the retailers focus on transaction first, right? We like to focus on what we call as experience first, the art of luxury. Talk about luxury, what it means for you to be in the luxury business, right? And then help the customer, educate them so that they can buy the top class products that we have, right? The fourth one is a mobile app, right? So we have a mobile app that was sort of, uh, it went through its ups and downs, right? And then we did a complete overhaul of the mobile app probably about a year back, right? And then we built a second mobile app, which was a flagship kind of an app, which was only for certain segment of customers by invite only, right? So what we're right now doing is we are sort of merging the two apps into one app. It's almost like the mobile app will become polymorphic to you as a customer. So which means that if you, John Doe, opens up the app, you see a different behavior versus if John Smith opens up the app, he sees a different behavior. So a polymorphic nature of the mobile app is where we are headed towards, more around how do you build relationships from the mobile app to your stylist, how do you empower, inspire, and delight our customers, right? Those are the key features of the mobile app. The next big thing is all about returns and exchanges. We do see, like some kind of a revenue that we could gain on the exchange side of it when customers are trying to return something, right? How do you divert that path and push them into exchanging, products from us instead of doing a return, right? And then we also have your regular customer experience, user experience kind of a changes that happens across mobile apps and websites, including transforming our commerce checkout experience, plus future of payments. Whether it is, we talk about like, whether it is payments through facial payments or hand gesture. There are different kinds of payments coming up, right? So we also want to be looking at them. And then we also have this like foundational and innovation concept. We are constantly looking to innovate in the company. So whether it is trying to get rid of legacy tech, replacing legacy with new tech, or looking at what's in the industry, whether it's blockchain, NFTs, sensors, IoT sensors. We try to scratch the metaverse yet, but it is still in the infancy. The metaverse, the whole Web 3.0, but we are probably lockstep on it in terms of what we need to do from an innovation point of view. And then all of this that we do is all done on cloud. We have thinking around cloud first approach. So any architecture that we do in a company is always cloud first architecture. So those are the top investments that we are planning to do.
I think there's quite a few folks within the technology industry that are listening in, and I'm sure many of them are extremely excited listening to you talk about all the new and emerging tech that you're dabbling in. So fantastic. You did mention cloud, and I'm curious to understand, for a company of your size, what does that cloud migration look like? I mean, is this something that has been going on for a while, or was it sort of a recent project? Did you just rip the band-aid and do it in one go, or sort of incrementally approach towards migrating to the cloud? If you can just kind of walk us through that
Yeah.
a little bit.
So we started our cloud journey in 2017. So I was hired for that. I was hired for the cloud journey in 2017. And my first recommendation is never do a lift and shift into the cloud unless you have a data center on fire, or something is massively wrong. You do a lift and shift, but otherwise don't do lift and shift. So what we did was we did a very true what we call as lift, re-platform, re-architect, and rehost. That's what we did. So we said take small chunks at a time. So first of all, e-commerce. We took e-commerce and said, how can we take e-commerce to the cloud, right? Which means that whether it is microservices, micro UIs, right? And then when we went to the cloud, we were like, we're not sure what cloud platform we should commit to. When I joined the company, I said, hey, let's do a POC and bake off across all the PaaS providers, infra as a service providers, whether it is OpenShift, AWS, GCP, Azure, and then whoever it is, right? And then the team came back and said, hey, I think so far AWS is the way to go because of the maturity of the platform, right? I come from an AWS background as well, right? So, but then I did not let my bias do any, sort of like in terms of decision making for the team. They did a pure bake off, and they came back and said, hey, Vijay, we feel like AWS is the right path for us to do, right? And then we decided, hey, still we're not fully sure that should we commit ourselves to AWS or not, right? So we put everything in containers. So we shipped everything that you have to ship in terms of your microservices, your domain specific APIs, your composite APIs, your data stores. When I say data stores, pretty much all the NoSQL cloud agnostic data stores, and then the UI was all deployed on containers. Right? And then probably about a year, maybe like 9 months into journey, we realized that being cloud agnostic did not give us the full benefits of the cloud platform. So we started shifting from cloud agnostic to be more cloud native. So the first step we did was we said, rip all the cloud agnostic NoSQL data stores and then bring in more cloud native data stores, which means that now I don't have the operational headache of babysitting a patch management, or any vulnerability assessment of DBs, NoSQL data stores. Um, so we decided to go cloud native on the DB, and then slowly shifted to even our APIs. When we started off like everybody else, Spring Boot and Drop Wizard was our microservices tool of choice, and then we shifted away from Spring Boot all the way. So right now we have very few footprints of Spring Boot, and we shifted a lot of them into pure lambdas running on TypeScript, Python, and Go language, right? And most of our UI runs on React and the React ecosystem, whether it's Next.js or Gatsby.js. So that is where we are, and across the board, in terms of the architecture that's been deployed, it's almost a rinse and repeat. So when we did e-commerce, all of the teams wanted to do similar kind of approach of moving to the cloud, whether it is the middleware team, the API team, the enterprise systems team, they all decided to move to the cloud in the same fashion. Lot of emphasis on async APIs, event-driven architecture, data streaming as well. So I would say probably we pride ourselves in having one of the most cutting-edge tech stack in the industry. So and I think we will continue to evolve as the industry keeps evolving.
That's no fantastic. It sounds like a extremely elaborate project, of course. And the approach that you've taken as well. You've decided to build out a global team. You've set up the Neiman Marcus Group Global Technology Services in India, and you're building out a very large team with some extremely talented professionals. So walk us through what your vision for this India setup is, and how do you sort of envision the teams globally now collaborating and working?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So we were probably, I would say, coming out of the pandemic, from a company culture point of view, ways of working point of view, we had decided that we'll have our teams be remote, right? So, I would say most of our employees are remote, including myself. I'm in Dallas. Most of my team is in Dallas, even though our office is in Dallas, but most of us work from home. We have employees all across the country as well, right? So we knew that remote teams was very successful for our at Neiman Marcus. We were very successful since pandemic. We used all the what do you call it, as the remote workforce management platforms, whether it's Slack or Teams or if it's Jira or Wiki. We have been using it since the pandemic. So we decided that, hey, if you need to go big, let us go global, right? And then we worked with Answer to figure out the exact location that we want to go into, and then we decided to go to India, right? And then we started the GCC in India, and a GCC in India is going to be an extension to our Scrum teams within USA, right? They're not going to be replacing the teams in USA. They're going to be extension to the team in USA. And these teams in India will be, at some point, depending on the maturity of the team, they would have their own product portfolios that they'll be working on. Whether it is true backlog features or new product features or enhancements, right? Or collaborations or innovations, right? But then the team in India will not be working on what we call as support or maintenance, right? We have a separate team that is outsourced, that handles our support and maintenance, but our own Neiman Marcus teams will be completely responsible for engineering, right? And then as we expand GCC, beyond engineering, so you'll have other functions also come into play, whether it is finance, legal, HR, talent acquisition. We are building a huge scale of resources in India. I think we have a pretty aggressive target. Hopefully, we can meet the target. But I think the the plan for the team is to be an extension to the team in USA.
Fantastic. And I mean, this sounds very exciting in terms of, are you sort of with growing out this technology blueprint? Of course, you've got GTS, you've got a lot of the acquisitions that you've done. What is the future of the tech growth? I mean, are you sort of seeing a lot of organic builds? Are you continuing to look at acquisitions? And again, just maybe bringing in GTS, what role do you think GTS will play perhaps in the next phase of evolution?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's a good question. So in terms of blueprint, organically and inorganically, I think we are doing both, a mix of both organic and inorganic. Even though we have great talent in house, right? The organic growth is not as fast as inorganic growth. So we may hit a glass ceiling if we just keep growing internally because of the lack of resources or not able to expand the resources, which is why we want to open an office in India and go pretty hard on hiring in India, right? So and then from a inorganic point of view, we are always open to whether it is new acquisitions, whether it's collaborations or innovations. So we are pretty open to it. I mean, because we know that the only way we can grow is it has to be a blend of both organic and inorganic.
Sure. Vijay, maybe just one last question on the India setup itself. Tell us a little bit more. I mean, what does this sort of team look like when you're hiring? What sort of people are you looking for? What does that kind of blend of culture and skill look like in your mind?
I think the first and foremost, I mean, being a tech guy, I think what I look for is somebody who has the right aptitude and attitude, right? I don't look for skills to say that somebody can code in Go language or Python or JavaScript or TypeScript, right? As far as they have a passion to technology and they can learn technology faster, those are the talent that I need at Neiman Marcus. I mean, because I personally started my career in 1995, right? And I started off as a C++ engineer, then shifted to C engineer, then went back to COBOL and Fortran. So I played different roles, and then went back to Java. So as far as you have the passion and the aptitude to pick up skills, we need them, right? So and again, this can be somebody who's junior or somebody who's senior across a broad spectrum. Because having the diversity in the team brings in the right culture for us. And even if you look at the US teams, we have wide spectrum of skills. It's almost like you have full stack engineer, T stack engineers. Some people who say, I don't want to be manager. I only want to be a software engineer for the rest of my life, right? So there are different skills that we have, and we are very flexible in the skills that we can bring into our GCC, as far as they have the passion uh, to build new products for Neiman Marcus.
Got it. No, fantastic. Um, I just want to sort of wrap up, maybe spending a few minutes about you personally. You've been a technology leader. You mentioned a little bit about how you got started and, just your sort of journey along the way. You have patents to your name. You do a lot of work today, even in terms of talking about tech and sort of speaking at events and conferences and so on. Tell us maybe a little bit more about the patents that you've been working on or you've sort of had, and perhaps a little bit more personally about what keeps you going, as a technology leader today, and how do you sort of make sure you stay relevant?
Sure, yeah. So yeah, the so one of the patterns that I have is for the in-flight Wi-Fi and entertainment. So back in 2005, when I worked for a small startup called GoGo In-Flight, so we actually built the in-flight Wi-Fi for all the planes within USA. So if you're flying in any planes in USA, for the in-flight Wi-Fi, is something that I actually built. So I have the patent for it. So what keeps me going is that you know like I mentioned before, technology is my passion. I do tech all the time. I'm always thinking of tech, like anything at home or outside. I'm always thinking of tech all the time. So you have to constantly be learning. I learn every day. I learn every day. I mean, whether it is some syntax in Go language, or if it is something on the machine learning part of you, you have to learn all the time, because your human brain is like a sponge. It can just keep absorbing as much as you can, and then the only way you can lead a fantastic org is you have to be able to roll up your sleeves, and then be part of the team, right? So I learn all the time. um, and there are three key principles as a leader that I have, which is firm believer in learning, and then caring is very important, and having fun, right? I think if you don't have fun, yeah, it's not going to be, what do you call it, it is going to be a pretty boring place to work. You have to have fun, right? And then you also have to be caring about each other, because you're spending a lot of time with your coworkers. Care about them, and also give back to the community. As humans, we have to give back to the community. You have to care for your neighbors, care for the needy, and care for the poor. So you have to give back to the community. So learning, caring, and fun are the three key principles of my leadership, and which is what even my team believes very firmly on. So keep learning, and then we just become great leaders.
Well, just I can't resist asking you, what does fun look like in a remote workspace? Is there
So
anything
we
that you do today? Yeah.
No, we actually, I was actually very, very, our divisional coordinator, she actually organized, a team event for us, which was, during COVID, and just after COVID, we were like, should we all meet up together for, like, whether it is, whether bowling or golfing or something else. We said, hey, let's do like a team event virtual, right? And we did something called as virtual virtual event, where you can actually, like a treasure hunt. It's like escape room. You're in teams of three or four, and you actually solve puzzles to open up an escape room. It was probably one of the most fun things that we did, right? And then a few weeks back, we actually have an in-person gathering of all our team members. We spent most of the day, talking, having fun. And we had a lot of good food, and then just getting to know each other. We had a lot of some new employees who joined us that we hadn't met since pandemic. So I think once, hopefully, with the pandemic behind us, we're able to actually have more in-person fun. But you have to have in-person fun. Even if it's for 2-3 hours, like meeting a small group of people for coffee, or just talking about life in general, so that you can decouple from work. You can't be working all the time. You have to decouple from work. Those Get those micro moments, so that you can share something with your coworker, or family member that is not work related. Actually improves your own productivity at work.
Absolutely. We're nearing the end of the talk today. Just having a look at the comments on the live video. There's a lot of people who are inquiring about the global technology services, and it sounds incredibly exciting. I mean, you're embarking on a very courageous journey to transition an age-old, very successful industry or business into becoming a tech-first company. And from everything that we've heard, seems like you've got a very clear vision and you know exactly how you want to get there. So it's been an absolute pleasure. Vijay, thank you so much for
Sure.
joining us and sharing your thoughts.
Thank you.
I wish you all the best with the Global Technology Services Center and everything that you've got planned for Neiman Marcus. And thank you again for everyone who joined the session today.
Thank you for having me.